Hello, my name is Lieve Litar. I am the Klingon teacher from Germany, and welcome to the first Klingon lesson of the free-to-play browser game Star Trek Infinite Space. I would say hello in Klingon, but as most of you would know, Klingons don't say hello. They don't say goodbye, they don't say thank you, they don't say please. That doesn't mean that Klingons are unpolite. Klingons are just very direct. On the other hand, if you really need to say something, you can say nuknech. Nuknech means literally something like, what do you want? It means if somebody comes up to you and doesn't say anything, well, you can just say nuknech, which means what do you want? And the other one can just state his business and say what he wants. Then, when you're finished, you can just go away. The Klingon will understand that you're finished when you go away. If you don't, well, maybe you have heard the word kapla. Kapla means literally success. It's not goodbye or hello, how are you? It's just success. It means when somebody's leaving, you wish him a lot of success for the upcoming battle. For this, you take your hand, make a flat hand, slap it to your shoulder, and form a fist. And then you say proudly, kapla. Kapla. Pay attention to the first letter. It's a k sound. It's much harder than just a K, so don't say K, don't say kapla, say kapla. Then next, the last letter is a very abrupt stop. You have to say kapla and not kapla. Okay? So, I wish you a lot of success learning Klingon. May you learn Klingon proudly. Bak Klingon hol der Hodge Judge. Kapla!
Animals like drinking! We're drinking. Cheers. Do one more. You hear that song? Pretty good. Oil free. Only variation. Fit your lifestyle.
Happy Valentine's.
Welcome back to the basement, ladies and gentlemen. It's Friday night and it's 8 p.m. That means two things. You're here with me, talking cocktails, talking beer, revealing how I actually secretly know very little about Star Trek. And two, being awesome, because that's what you guys are best at. I'm Mastershake, your local neighborhood bartender. You're the greatest people in the world. And I am super excited today to talk two things, founders and a cocktail. I thought about it all week in terms of what beers I was going to get from Founders. Founders has a lot of great beers. First of all, I just want to say this to all my Colorado friends. There's only one beer city in the United States, ladies and gentlemen. It isn't Boulder. It certainly isn't Denver. That little baby was made in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Founders is right there. If you haven't been to Founders, I can't recommend it enough. Founders is a phenomenal place, not just because it started when I was in college, which, I think that's coincidental. I started in college, Founders started, like a little bit, but it's just a great brewery, guys. It is a great brewery. Top 5 in Michigan, maybe top 5 in the United States. Now, you're not going to find a lot of beer better than what Founders has to offer. Okay? So if you have the opportunity to go there or already have been, welcome to the Grand Rapids experience. I will say there are a lot of great breweries in Grand Rapids. It's just Founders is the premier one, and that's why we're featuring it. Let's see what kind of comments we got here. I am a Picard guy. Although you'll notice, you can kind of tell, I do have my original VHS set from the original series. Picard is my favorite captain by far. Ward's in the sub basement tonight, I think, because he's sick. And yeah, honestly, like if you want to check out a great Star Trek podcast, Seeds and Knobs features one. I have listened to the original series parts, mostly because I know nothing about the original series. I'm ashamed to say. I feel like somebody should take my nerd card or something. Beer City, USA, you got it. It really is, Dr. Forbes. So let's take a look at a few Founders beers. I went to Megabev yesterday, selected what I wanted to do, just like last week. 5 mainstays, 1 aggressive. Okay, and it just so happens that the aggressive one this week is a top 5 beer for me all time. Like, I'll put it up against anything, but we'll get to that. Let me activate the other camera so we can take a look at this. You know, I was really excited to talk about these beers, mostly because, in all seriousness, every single one of these beers are great for a different reason. Okay. You know, this one right here, definitely a flagship. This is my golf beer, all day IPA. It is a session IPA. You know, you're clocking in at 4.2%. So it's very crushable for an IPA. It's great on the golf course. It's got a nice little, you know, woody on there. Wink, wink. But in all seriousness, it's a great beer. As far as session ales go, I mean, it's really hard to top it. And I think the best part about it is that not only is it crushable, but it's full of flavor. And often, some of those session beers, part of the way they get them to be session beers, I mean, if you didn't know this, session means like you can drink a lot of them, or you should be able to anyway. I mean, some of you are lightweights maybe, but that's the point, is like you can drink more than 3 and not be hammered. This beer doesn't go light on the taste. It's a great beer and session, which is a key for me. Next up, their flagship IPA. This is the Centennial IPA, so called because the 100 that's kind of, you know, Centennial has a twofold thing. It has to do with Grand Rapids, but it also has to do with the IBUs in the beer. It is hoppy, very hoppy, but it's also delicious. Kicking in at 7.1% for an IPA. It's a great beer. The label's real cool. Has the hops on the front. You know, a few years ago, Founders really went back to a much more simplistic. Centennial hops as well, Tim. I forgot to mention that. You're right. Centennial hops, something to do with the Centennial Grand Rapids, and on top of that, it's 100 IBUs, so they got the triple entendre. This label marks like a change they made a few years back where they went to a lot simpler labels. I still really like it, but I will say this beer, when I rated IPAs season 1, I rated this the lowest, which really surprised me. I usually really like this beer, and I gave it a 3, if I remember right. This is their standard porter, and it is very much so a standard porter. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's anything other than a porter. It tastes like a porter. I'm not a huge fan of porters. Taxman Tim's, you know, my brother is there in the chats. He's a big porter fan. I tend to feel like they taste like a light stout. So either be a stout or don't. But if you like porters, this is the definition of one. It's still a plus beer. This isn't like, I mean, there's a reason it's a flagship, right? It's just not my wheelhouse. Other people's wheelhouse, sure, but it is a flagship beer. You know, and Tim said it, you know, he says it like, really, the porter? Well, yeah, Tim, because it's flagship. I have 5 flagships. They always have this on draft if you go to the tap house. Right here, much more famous for their Kentucky breakfast stout, which is not a mainstay on drafts, but their breakfast stout is a delicious stout. If you really like, in terms of stouts and how they go about, delivering them, the flavor on it is pretty high on the vanilla, not as chocolatey. I think that has to do with why, they call it a breakfast stout in the first place. But this is what they age in terms of, like KBS or Canadian breakfast stout. That's the maple one that they age. This is the flagship for that. It branches off into these other barrel aged stouts. Highly recommend it if you're a stout fan. It's a plus stout. I mean, hands down. Next up, we have the Dirty Bastard. And no, we're not talking about Ward. The Dirty Bastard is a unique beer. Let's call it that. So let's take a look at this label for a second. And I'll tell you why I'm explaining more about it in a second. It's a Scotch-style ale that very much so has a plus flavor to it. But on its own, I don't necessarily come out and be like, man, I really, really love Dirty Bastard. But it's a mainstay. It's still plus beer. Scotch ales are great, all of that. However, and Taxman's trying to steal my thunder a little bit here. He says here, where'd it go? There we go. Well, I can explain what Red's Rye is Michigan only. Red's Rye is Michigan only, Tim. It is a Michigan only beer now. They do not distribute it outside of Michigan, unlike the other 5 flagships, which can be found outside of Michigan. Okay. So this beer right here can be crafted, well, they craft it, to make a top 5 beer of all time. And this is the Backwoods Bastard. This is a phenomenal beer. This is a top 5 beer all time. Look at that art label. That is a great art label right there. It looks like a drunk Gandalf. Okay. But this is a great barrel-aged ale that starts out here and ends here. Heavy on vanilla, high in the ABVs. You're talking about 9.8% the last batch that I read. This is a great beer. It's great. I give it a 10. I give it a 10. Okay. This beer is without a doubt some of the best that Michigan has to offer anybody. Now, I do not know if this is distributed outside of Michigan. These 5, yes. I don't know. But I would put this up against any other kind. And I'll tell you this. Yeah, no Rubaeus, Miranda. No Rubaeus. You know why? Because I don't like it. Okay, I know it's a popular beer. I know. I just don't like it. I picked beers that I at least enjoy drinking. Okay. Rubaeus is another mainstay for them and became a mainstay roughly in the mid-20 teens. There was this craze for fruit beer. I am not a big fan of fruit style beer. It's a raspberry ale. Not a fan. Quite often you can get it on draft. It is super popular. I am in the minority by far. Not a fan of Rubaeus. I think it's too sweet. Out of these 6, how would I rate them? This would be a B plus. This would be a B plus, C plus, B plus, C plus, A freaking plus. I say check it out. Not gonna lie. Dr. Forbes in there saying she hates Rubaeus. Usually Dr. Forbes and I line up in terms of our flavor. We both really like high ABV, high alcohol things. All things high alcohol. Right here. It's because she's smart. That's why. Oh, here we go. George III's in here. Love you, George III. We got Betting Bros going on tomorrow. Hope you tune in. Black and Tan. George, I'll be honest. I like to make my own black and tans. And maybe it just comes from my bartending time, but I prefer to do it the old style in terms of how you use Guinness. Okay, that's my favorite. Yes, C plus for Dirty Bastard. Sorry, and it's just a standard Scotch ale. I'm sorry, it's okay, and it's certainly so. You know what it isn't? It isn't this. The scale's got to be somewhere. It's not much above the Miyagi line. Come on. Cocktail time. I'm hoping that you enjoy this cocktail as much as I do because I had fun thinking about it and making it. Okay. Shout out to a guy who taught me a lot about how to make cocktails, Henry. I don't know if you're tuning in, buddy, but the very first time we ever were making cocktails in the bar that featured a torch, he was rightfully so concerned about its usage in the bar. And true to form, I basically tried to light any cocktail I could on fire. So tonight we are doing a flaming cocktail, and it is based on Star Trek. Now, this was not an accident. I think it was this week or maybe this weekend. Sturdy has been looking into Star Trek versus Star Wars, and he is doing Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. At some point, it was either this week or this weekend. That's my least favorite Star Trek, by the way. I just want to mention that. I prefer, the motion picture over 4, but 4 is one of the most popular. They save the whales. They go back in time, all this stuff. Anyway, I wanted to make a cocktail about Star Trek to tie into what Sturdy was doing. And I sat there and I thought, and originally I was like, I got to do Romulan ale, right? But I've actually done Romulan ale for an Instagram special way back in season 1, okay? It's not hard. I wanted to come up with something creative, and I wanted to say, like, okay, let's think about this for a second. Let's ignore Star Trek for a second because my knowledge is so friggin' limited. And let's think about this for a second. What would a Klingon drink if he came to my house? And that's where I started. And I was like, well, it's got to be a flaming cocktail because it's a Klingon. They're so aggressive. They like fire, all that stuff. 2, has to be high ABV. Their blood wine that they drink is supposedly like you drink 1 and you're almost dead. So I was like, I want something that I can light on fire and is high alcohol by volume. One of the highest alcohol by volume drinks that you can make is called a Sazerac. The original version is higher in ABV than what you usually order now. Now you order what's called the French Sazerac, which is a slightly different twist on the original one. In terms of what you want to do with it, it's up to you. You can look up the recipe, but it's really, really Peychaud's bitter, rye, a little bit of absinthe spraying around the outside of whatever you're stirring it in, and an expressed lemon peel, and that's it. It's a real simple but delicious cocktail. I wanted something a little more complex for my Klingon friends. I can't say clock or whatever, but I wanted them to drink something that was on fire and delicious. So I went back to the original recipe, which to a certain extent builds on what we worked on last week with Cavassier. So it's a rye and Cavassier mix with a splash of lemon juice featured in, and my Klingon twist to it. It's going to be on fire, and there's going to be a flaming meat stick as a garnish. So wonderful. Let's light things on fire, guys. What do we need today? Well, we're doing a non-shaken drink, so we need a mixing glass. And I got my cheaper mixing glass. I'm not using my expensive one, just because we do have, when you're starting stuff on fire, you don't want to have your expensive stuff around. You need a standard glass, standard cocktail glass. I'm using one with a little bit of gradation in it because I think it looks neat. That's about how deep that is. I didn't really think about it too far beyond that. Knife for the lemon, like always. Lemon, roll in your hand a little bit. This is a trick that I've started to do myself. I looked up this thing online about microwaving them, but as I've complained about constantly, variable lemons are variable lemons. You want to get more juice out of it, you have to have some sort of pressure on the outside, just because that juice gets along the rind and it's annoying. So just give it a couple rolls in your hand or on the table. Squeeze. You want to press. I'm using the silver one today. I didn't grab the bronze one. Bar spoon for your stirring, and as you all know, the spanking. I'm using a strain spoon, not a strainer today. A strain spoon. I actually prefer to use this when it comes to mixing glasses like this. Some people do, some people don't. It just depends on your preference. It doesn't matter in terms of this. The ice isn't going to be profuse enough that we have to worry about it. Jig, meat stick, vice versa, jig, meat stick. You need Cavassier, your overproofed rye, and I'm going to turn on the other camera for this so that way we can take a peek. Here is our overproofed rye. I'm using Mammoth Distilling Northern Rye, a single barrel select, but you'll notice the overproofing down here, we're kicking in at 130 proof, just like our Klingon friends would like, 130 proof. And your absinthe, 138 proof. Now, this is for twofold reasons. One, this lights on fire really well, and that's why we're using it. But two, we are actually going to leave it inside the glass when it's on fire when we strain the other bits of the cocktail in, and it's going to kind of give it a caramelized flavor in terms of the sugar, because it's also high in sugar content. And to light things on fire, your torch, okay? The torch is important. Be careful with it. You know, mine's getting old at this point. I'm surprised it's not empty yet. Let's get making this. Oh, you need ice, of course. You always need your ice. So we got 2 cubes today. We're using rounded ones, not for any particular reason other than this is what I grabbed out of the freezer. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be square. We'll just use these rounded ones and it'll be fine. Get your mixing glass ready. And everybody say it with me. 1 crack cube, so we got to spank that ice. Give it a nice little crack. There we go. Now, I'm actually, because I'm using a mixing glass, going to give this a little swirl. Okay? It's going to chill the outside of the mixing glass before I put the liquor in there. This is a Japanese technique that I saw online that I really like. And you actually feel the cold air coming out of the mixing glass, which is kind of cool. Cheapest ingredients first, like always. Let's get our lemon juice. You want 1/2 ounce. We're going to measure it because, like I always point out, variable lemons. Boom, that's 1/2 ounce exactly this week. It worked out really well. Love it. Or 1/2 ounce of lemon juice. Then 2 full ounces of your overproofed rye. Okay, 2 full ounces of this is what you want. And you want 1 ounce of your Cavassier. I can't say it unless I say it exactly like the ladies' man did back in the 90s. I can't help it. It's a 90s thing. Come on. Tim out there microwaving his lemons. Who's got time for that? 1 ounce of Cavassier. Now, I'm actually going to let this sit for a second while we do our flaming glass, okay? And give it a stir first with your lemon juice, the Cavassier, and the rye. Just give it a nice little stir until you're happy. We're going to set this off to the side. Now, the careful part. Lighting stuff on fire. We're going to make the other camera big for this. Oh, I can't. That's right. The mic's tied in with this one, so sorry, guys. I really wanted you to get a chance to see the flaming, but I'll try to set it right there so we'll make sure we can try and see it. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to pour 1/2 ounce of this absinthe into the glass. Now, I've practiced this 5 times between yesterday and today. It worked out every time a picture was posted online. If it doesn't work now, I apologize ahead of time. Lean it on its side, and you want to basically coat the side of the glass with the absinthe. A little bit will spill out, and that's fine. Coat it, and then dump it. Get your torch ready. You got to be fast before the basically all of the fuel goes out. Light it on fire. As you can see, It is currently on fire. And then you want to strain your cocktail over the top of the flames. That actually looks really cool. I am glad you guys can see that. All right. Hold it like you always do with your mixing spoon. We're going to pour this right over the top. Puts those flames out. Has those sugars caramelized. But we're not done yet, because I promised a flaming beef stick. Now, we are going to do the same process. Try to be fast. You'll hear it sizzle. And give it a nice little douse inside. Now you have your Klingon Sazerac. Exactly how a Klingon would drink a Sazerac, in my opinion. So, let's give this a taste, shall we? I liked it when I made it earlier. Cheers. Oh, that's good. So, really boozy. Obviously, like I told you it would be. Super boozy forward. The lemon juice gives it just a little perk. Now, you may wonder, I put lemon juice in it. Why are there no sugars, Mastershake? Well, we created the sugars when we lit the absinthe on fire. That was the goal. Okay? So, it's enough to balance out the lemon juice and not make it tart. You have the sour mix in there without making it too tart. And then the booziness comes in. The rye provides a little bit of burn afterwards. It's a complex cocktail. I'll give it a 4 out of 5. It's not something you'd want to drink more than one of, both because the booze content and the flavor is very strong, but it's pretty good. Cheers. Or whatever Klingons would say, or whatever. Oh, man, that's good. I had a lot of fun this week. I love making these cocktails. I'm looking forward to next week. I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. If you guys have any ideas of things you want to see, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Just give me a DM. Let me know, what cocktails are you interested in? I'm not stuck in my ways in terms of it. I want to do Star Trek this week just to align with Sturdy. But listen, I want to help you be a better home bartender the same way other people helped me. So if there are things that you want to see made, let me know. If you have themes that you love and you want to make a cocktail based on that theme, that's been done too. Somebody gave me a challenge to do all 3 Frosty movies from like last Christmas. And I did 3 different ones, including an NA cocktail. And it was super fun. So if you're interested, reach out. I'll try to make something that kind of like helps you out. But in the meantime, we got to take our shot. Okay? What shot are we going to do today? This comes from Taxman Tim, and I think it is going to be absolutely disgusting, but I told him I'd do it. Tonight, in Cosme, if you're interested, Tim can drop the link into the chat, okay? But we are going to do Tim is going to do some Alice Cooper concert footage tonight in Cosme, and it's going to be fun. He wanted to do a cold Ethel shot, and I made a recommendation. He wasn't into it, and his ultimate decision was peppermint schnapps and Fireball, and he said that was a cold Ethel. So I got my peppermint schnapps. I got my Fireball. I do not recommend this. This is not a Mastershake recommended drink. But I'm going to do it. Just for you, Taxman. Just because tomorrow we'll be tuning in noon. We're going to do Math versus Smash and tell you how to bet the NFC and AFC championship games. This is just for you, buddy, in cold Ethel. Got my shot glass. This is going to be so bad. Why am I doing this? This is going to be so bad. Okay. Fireball. Oh, there's the cinnamon. This is going to taste like you went to the dentist. Oh, 1 p.m. Tim says. I thought it was noon. My bad. 1 p.m. tomorrow. Matt versus Smash. You can see me win money with my brother. Oh, this is going to be so bad. This is like when you turn 21, people order you a cement mixer and you just don't want to drink it, no matter what. I don't want to drink this. I don't. You guys are great. Arriba, abajo, el centro, adentro. Salud. Oh, that's bad. Oh, that's terrible. That is terrible. Why did I do that? Why did I do that? Anyway, fun tuning in. Tonight, we have the Outcast after this. The link's posted for 9 p.m., but I'm pretty sure Scene Snobs are going to start it up shortly after my show finishes. If you want to tune in, tune in. We will talk about all things movie, all things horror, maybe even throw in some music. We'll talk about it. Tonight, midnight, Sturdy's doing his thing on Sturdivision. He's going to be interviewing, Mick, is it a director of the movie? I'm not sure. So Mick already posted it up there for one of the chats. And if you want to tune in, Sturdy's the hardest working man in the business, man. The guy just works nonstop. Tomorrow, 1 p.m., Matt versus Smash. Let us show you how to bet this NFC and AFC championship game. Go Lions, always. And, my friends over in the Monster Movie Happy Hour once a month ish, they post out on Instagram, you can find them, a cocktail paired with a movie. They have great suggestions, 3 of them. Mary and her crew, they're great. Check them out. Wonderful. You guys are great. I had a blast. That shot was the equivalent of 21-year-old me punching me in the face. I love all of you. Next Friday, 8 p.m., you're the best people, and I'll be your local neighborhood bartender. Cheers.